Welcome back, this is Tiny T Gaming, and today I'm going to be talking about whether or not I think we'll see any surviving Loyalists from the Traitor Legions during the Scouring books and campaign. Now, before I get into it, I want to say thank you to everyone who's liked and subscribed. It really means a lot, and it's helped the channel grow massively. If you haven't done so already though, please subscribe to the channel as it's really helping it get out there. So get into it. There will be spoilers from the Horus Heresy and the Siege of Terror series, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then please turn away now. Loyalists from the Traitor Legions were a big part of the heresy, as they arguably suffered the most and were often hated by both sides, many of them not being trusted by the Imperium they still wished to serve. Honourable mentions for this, such as Garviel Loken, who helped the Emperor to slay Horus, would have absolutely made this list, but of course Erebus had to murder him, just as he was talking Abaddon down. This was probably the most upsetting culmination of the novels, more so than the Emperor being enthroned, because Garviel had done so much, and he would have been such a perfect and pivotal part of the setting if he had been allowed to continue in it. Instead, he has helped to reignite everyone's dislike of Erebus yet again. Another one, Nathaniel Garrow, and then Mace of Aaron and Endred Har would have also been perfect going into the Scouring, but unfortunately they're now all dead too. I won't be mentioning the Astartes who were selected to found the Grey Knights, one because I doubt they'll be seen again during the Scouring, and two because we don't have lots of firm lore on that topic. Now, I do think we'll see Loyalist elements from the Traitor Legions survive into the Scouring, simply because the Legions were so vast and not all such forces or individuals would have been wiped out or accounted for by the end of the siege. I think what would be most interesting is if we have elements from the Alpha Legion and Iron Warriors, as we have confirmed Loyalists from both in the past, though the former were in fact mistakenly killed by the Shattered Legions under Nikonai Sharakin, and the latter, most notably, Barnabas d'Antioch, who is now dead. Going back to the Alpha Legion though, Ingo Peck is still alive, though he did have a mine planted on his chest the last time we saw him. I'm sure he'll be alive and free though, simply for the point that it is interesting and it would be a wasted death to have him blown to pieces during the final stages of the Siege of Terror. So there is at least one supposedly Loyalist Alpha Legionnaire that hasn't been confirmed killed, and he is the first captain of the Legion no less. Barthusa Narek is another one. He was last seen being stabbed by Erebus, though as he was left to die, a warmth emanated from the shard of the Fulgurite that he still wielded. Now, does this mean the Emperor kept him from death, using what power he had to himself in the latter stages, so that he could continue his hunt for Lorga Aurelium? It would be really great to see him still alive and killing traitors in his own morally ambiguous way. A driven man with no love for those who could be his allies, yet his goal makes him firmly loyal to his God Emperor. Precedent is there, though for such forces to still exist and to potentially have some interesting story arcs, it would be great to see random surviving companies and Loyalist warbands be accepted by the Imperium they still wanted to serve, and to be made use of in a positive way. I'm sure though that the distrusting and vengeful culture of the Imperium will be in full force though, and if we are to see any surviving Loyalists from the Traitor Legions, then we may have a mixed response of some being gunned down on sight for wearing old colours, or being sent into the jaws of death on suicide missions so they can atone for their gene lineage's mistake. I really think it's an interesting topic within the setting of Warhammer 40,000 and the Horus Heresy, because there is so much that can be done with it. If there are disparate forces still loyal to the Emperor out in the vast swathes of what was Imperial territory, it would be good to see the wars from their perspective, how they have survived and what will happen to them if they do encounter pure-blooded Loyalists. Will we get more of a backstory on the morally grey Ashen Claws? Thousands of Astartes from the Raven Guard who went their own way. They definitely cannot be counted as Loyalist warriors, but neither are they Chaos worshipping traitors. Will there be any traitors who wish to switch back, like the Anchorite, the word-bearer Astartes who had a crisis of faith and so surrendered himself to the Ultramarines mid-battle at Calth? Though this warrior would not raise his blade against his former brothers in the word-bearers, he would go on to be instrumental in the creation of the Ecclesiarchy's religious texts. I understand there will invariably be an attitude from the traitors that if they were the ones betrayed, then why should they try and go back? Or that the Imperium would never and could never accept them back, so they will fight all the harder for it. Obviously, those who have fully sold their souls to the Chaos Gods to warp will not wish or even be able to go back on their own betrayal, but it's always interesting those who did not fall fully to Chaos, but they did betray the Emperor. I really think if we don't see these elements utilised in the Scouring series that's going to be released shortly, it's such a waste, because there's so much we can see from these Loyalists, traitors' points of view, or why they might want to return to the Imperial fold, having seen the folly of their ways, or they just got lumped in with the wrong crowd initially, and now they're trying to make good on what they've done or what they could have done. So I think these sorts of things are really interesting, and people like the idea of traitors from Loyalist Legions, and it's proved with characters like Garvior Loken, Nathaniel Garrow, Mace of Aaron, Endred Har, these warriors who arguably didn't need to return to the Imperium, or may not have initially wanted to, but they fought for what they deemed was right, and their morals and their culture carried them through to the point where a lot of them ultimately gave their lives for the Imperium they swore to defend, even though their own fathers had turned against it. Now, I'm sure, as I've said in this video, there is so much out there that they can use. You've got a whole galaxy of lore to use, so they could really, really make the most of this, and it would just be really good to see. But it's always interesting, those who did not fall in fully with the Chaos Gods are still deemed as traitors nonetheless, but what they're going to do. It would be great if these potential plot points are utilised by Black Library authors, adding even more depth to potential elements of Traitor Legions, but also how the Loyalists treat with them. It would be good if they gave some confirmation of these supposedly loyal Space Marine chapters in the 41st millennium that were actually founded on traitor gene stock. That's just a bit of a what if, but I find it really interesting because the genetic traits carry through on the gene seed, so it'd be really good to sort of see that and have that confirmed. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, it's really helping the channel grow, and I'll see you in the next one.